So a lot of you know that we were working on the John and Jean Block case to locate them, and we had a special friend that was a pilot at the time by the name of Pete, and Pete was helping us try to figure out the trajectory, the plane, what kind of weather conditions, and what could have happened to the plane. Sadly, we lost him this year. So that we want to dedicate this video to him and his memory. He passed away on March 5th of this year. And we want to give a special thanks to him and his family for the time that he did spend with us working on that case and getting it together for us. He took extra time out during the day to get on Zoom calls, even when his kids were having a game. He would get on a Zoom call and stand watching the game and helping us with the case. So it was a bad loss. It was a sad loss for us. So we want to dedicate this video to him. Thank you. We're going to talk about the investigation at the
Randolph County Asylum.
Randolph County Asylum in Indiana. We started out with an interview with Ted. You said you want to go through it in a long run or in here, like kind of real, like brief?
I'm going to go through a real quick history. Well, it won't take over about 20 minutes max, okay?
All right.
Okay. To begin with, let me explain to you. I heard somebody say a little bit ago this was a nursing home in its later years, and it wasn't. There's never been a doctor, a nurse, a psychiatrist. There's never been no medical help here at all. Never. Never. And so you're on your own.
Isn't that why they got shut down too?
They got shut down because it was costing too much. Nobody was ever charged to live here. It was always a free ride. And by the time you pay utilities, let's say an average of 45 people here, and you feed them 3 times a day, it gets expensive. Now, it's a 351-acre farm. And yes, they raise corn, beans, and wheat, just like everybody else in Indiana does, and played the market. And they had big vegetable gardens out here on the hill, and they raised a lot of their own vegetables. And it was a working, operating farm. They had livestock here too, and everything. And so it was pretty self-sustaining. But as it got later years, and farms had to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger to be so self-sustaining, this place never grew. And so they were trying to, in the later years, they changed the name to Countryside Care Center, trying to talk people into being a nursing home here. Yeah. Well, it worked. It got one old rich woman from Winchester to move out here, and she was the only one. All right. They still have people living here, but she was the only one. And so, in other words, she was paying for a chunk to live here. And yeah, it just didn't work out. I was on the county council, Randolph County Council, when we decided we were going to close it down, because you can't just keep giving stuff away and expect it to last, because it ain't going to last, and it wasn't going to. And okay, the first building that was ever built right here on this spot, on this very same footprint, was 1851. And it was a 2-story log cabin built on a white limestone foundation. And if you walk around this building today, you'll see that this building is built on a white limestone foundation. It's Bedford stone. It's from Indiana. Okay, it's Bedford stone. That is indeed the original limestone foundation that was built here for the first building in 1851. The state of Indiana mandated every county in Indiana, 92 counties, mandated every county in Indiana to build a facility like this. If you had a mental handicap, a physical handicap, or were just plain broke and no money at all, you qualified to live here for nothing. You didn't have to help on the farm. You didn't have to do anything. If you wanted to sit there in a rocking chair and look out the window for 12 hours a day, nobody's going to say a word to you. You're still going to have a roof and four walls over your head and 3 meals a day. It's a free ride. It was a free ride. And what they had to do in the early years was to make sure it wasn't people with money that was getting the free ride. You know, and that was a problem in the early years. It really was. But I'm going to give the county commissioners credit. They done a good job keeping the rich freeloaders out. Really, is what happened. All right, now in 1851, when they've got a 2-story log cabin built here, what do you think the heat source was? Wood. That's exactly what it was. It wasn't no little gas insert like that. It was a big rip-roaring wood fireplace. What do you think the cook stove was? It was wood. Have you ever tried to cook on one of them?
Yeah, they're temperamental.
I have. We rented a cabin up in Canada, a fishing cabin, and they had a wood stove in it. And I cooked for about 12 years when I was in the Army. And so I volunteered to cook one morning, breakfast, build a fire in the oven like you're supposed to, and let it get the top of the range hot, melting some grease and stuff in the skillet, and I'm going to make some fried eggs. Well, you know what I did? I made ashes out of fried eggs. That thing got so stinking hot that I couldn't control it. And then I start putting it out and it get too cold. It was just impossible to cook with. Impossible. And you can burn a building down with them easy too. You open that hood up, open the oven up, and sparks fly every place. Mm-hmm. All right, so in 1851, you know there wasn't any electricity. So what kind of lighting they have?
Kerosene lights?
Oil lamps. Oil? Yeah, it was whale oil is what it was. Or candles. Okay, so everything I just told you is fire related, right? Mm-hmm. And you got mentally handicapped or physically handicapped people living here. That's a recipe for a disaster. And in 1857, it happened. They accidentally burnt the building down, the first building down, and it's set right here on the same place this building's setting. There was absolutely no one hurt or killed in that first fire. And because I was a firefighter for 20 years, I like to say because they had a heck of a good fire department. They were lucky. They had to be. The closest fire department was 2 miles away in Winchester. And you know, well as I do, that's been an old horse-drawn hand pumper. Yeah. And they were just very fortunate. Nobody was hurt. Nobody was killed. There was nobody that even got a broken fingernail out of it. Okay, now they burnt down their only source of refuge. All right, that means the state mandated every county to have a building like this. That means we got to build another building quickly. Now the state mandated it. You think that means the state paid for it? They didn't. The counties paid for it. So it was the individual citizenship of every county, the taxpayers that paid for it. And so you're going to find out real quick that I don't care nothing for county commissioners. Okay? Now watch, one of you will be a county commissioner. So I told you I was on the county council. I had the job that I wanted. Okay? So the county commissioners come out, looked over the building. Foundation's still here, but the rest of the building's gone. So they went over here where you guys pulled your vehicles in, that lot right over next door, and they decided that's where we're going to build the new building, building number 2, and it's going to go over there. And so they're going to make it out of brick so it doesn't burn so easily. Now, you got to learn some little Indiana history here. Randolph County, Indiana is notorious for the amount of clay that's in the soil around here. I mean, it's a lot of clay in the soil around here. There's some people by name of Martin, and I know that's my last name, but it wasn't my family because they made some money, and I never seen any of it. So, but by name of Martin, they invented a 4.5-inch diameter field tile and built them. They had a little factory here, and they made their own field tile and sold them all over the United States for farmers to drain the wetlands off their fields. Did you know they were invented right here in Randolph County? They sure were. And so the old pink field tiles you see broken in people's fields today, them probably came from right here. Probably came from right here. They really did. And so if they can make field tile, they can make brick. And so now they're going to build the next building right over yonder, across the driveway. First building they got to make's a kiln, right? How hot do you have to get the mixture on a brick before you can melt it and pour it into a sand mold and it dries and it's waterproof?
Probably around 2,000 degrees.
1,600, not quite 2,000, but you're close. 1,600 degrees. And of course, they didn't have any thermostats or temperature gauges or anything like that. They went by the color of the mix as it got hot. So in other words, when it got cherry red, they decided, hey, that's hot enough. All right, if you didn't get that 1,600 degrees, is equivalent to me walking out here in the field with a wheelbarrow and picking up dirt clods and bringing them back up here and trying to build something out of it. What happens to a dirt clod when it rains on it? So does a brick if you didn't get it 1,600 degrees. Did you know that? A brick melts too if you didn't get it 1,600 degrees when you're making it. And so they had worked about 2 or 3 months on the building over here, building it, and a big old duck drowner of a rainstorm come through here, first one of the year, and out come the county commissioners again to see, oh my God, what happened to our building? How's our building? Well, they had not been getting it 1,600 degrees, and needless to say, a lot of the building deteriorated. In other words, it's wasted. And one of the first things that comes to mind is to tear it down and start over, right? Well, that's the common sense thing. Well, there wasn't any common sense back then. For some reason, I don't know. They liked how fast it was going up, and they wanted to just continue making it like that. So instead of tearing it down and starting over, they hired 14 guys to live in some of the finished part of the building over there and work with the construction crew and replace the faulty brick with new brick. Or hell, the new brick's faulty too. They're still making it the same way they were. And so nobody knows how many times they actually had to rebuild that second building over there, but it was a lot of times. All right. And they finally got it built, and people's going through the thing. And then they got to replace it every time it rains. They got to replace parts of it every time it rains. And so it was getting expensive to maintain, very expensive. And finally, in 1893, there was a tornado came through here, just like it did a couple of years ago when it wiped out down here by Walmart. It took the outbuildings out just 2 miles away down here. There was a tornado came right through here. Well, you've seen what a tornado can do, twist big steel I-beams and everything else. You can imagine what it done to a bad brick building. And it did. All right. Well, now I'm going to give the county commissioners credit for one guy. There's always one guy that's a county commissioner that might possibly be smart enough to really be on the county council. The rest of them are little big shots. Look at me, I'm an important person. You guys voted for me. But there's always one guy that really should be on the county council. Always. And he came out with the other guys to see the damage the tornado had done. He didn't even come over there. He stayed over here on this side of the driveway and was walking around this limestone foundation still left over from 1851. There's nothing wrong with this foundation. He called the other guys over there and said, guys, come over here and look. He said, look at that corner right over there. He said, there's a heat crack. That's from the fire in 1851. He said, we can repair that. Look over there in that corner. That's a heat crack. We can repair that over there. Why don't we hire 2 engineers? Let's engineer a brand new building. Build it right here on top of this limestone foundation that's still here and modify the size of the foundation if we need to. And let's do it right this time. Build a brand new brick building and do it right. Third time's a charm. All right. In 1898, they started building, December or January of 1898, they started building this particular building that we're sitting in now. By 1899, December of 1899, they got it done. And so people walked across the driveway and took up residence here, right here, in 1899. Now, they've got a 66,000 square foot. And I know it may not look that big to you outside, but once you get to walk around in here, you'll find it. There's no elevators or escalators. They don't work. There isn't any. And you're going to find that out really quick when you start walking around in here. This is one big building. And there's all kinds of places for spooks to hide in this place, too. And yes, I believe it's haunted. I didn't when I started to work here. I was 14 years U.S. Army infantry and 20 years a firefighter. I wasn't afraid of nothing. Yes, I was Vietnam. I wasn't afraid of shit. Nothing. And these guys, I was president of the Historical Society in Winchester. They called me up and asked me if I wanted to work for them out here. I said, sure, I'll work for you out here, but I'm not going to promote your ghost. Oh, why not? Because I don't believe in ghosts. They said, well, come on out anyhow. We'll see if you a year from now if you still don't believe in them. It didn't take a year. Just let me tell you, I know they're real now. I know it's real. There's no doubt in my mind. And so now people ask me, have you ever had experiences here? Yes, a couple good ones. And I can't explain it. And the only way I can explain it, it has to be haunted. There ain't no other explanation for it. I even had one of them want me dead. Ida, the old woman that hung herself down in the basement.
Yeah.
There was a guy here from Terre Haute doing a podcast. He took his spirit box and his recorder right down there to Ida's room that she hung herself in. Ida, what do you think of Ted Martin telling everybody that comes in the door the story about the way you killed yourself? She answered him through the spirit box. She says, I want that guy dead. He had it on recording and thought it was funny and came running up the steps, laughing. Ted, you got to hear this. You got to hear this. He played that for me, and I didn't think it was funny. I'm here by myself a lot, just about like I am now. Okay? I'm here by myself a lot. I don't want to be dead. And I don't know what she can do. I've fought cancer twice since my wife died. It's pretty obvious I don't want to be dead. Okay. And so I didn't think it was funny. I told him he needed to be in his vehicle and on his way back to Terre Haute. Because that's not funny, pal. So Now, one thing I'm going to tell you, we got a 66,000 square foot Romanesque revival style architectural building. That's what this is. Anybody know what Romanesque revival style architecture is?
Built like a cross.
See them pillars?
Mm-hmm.
That's Romanesque revival. See this round part right here, and there's another one over there. That's Romanesque revival. And if you go outside and look above every window and every door, there's bricks setting up on end, and they're in an arch above every door and every window. That's the old Romans found out many, many, many years ago that an arch is the most solid building object that there is. And that's Romanesque revival. Now, I said this round part is, do you know what that thing's called? Tell me. You studied it. You're supposed to
I
know.
didn't study that part.
That's called a witch's hat tower.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that before.
Do you know what use they use a witch's hat tower for? Well, this is going to blow your mind. This is true. You notice
You should know that.
there's an arc, there's a wooden oak bench that goes around the inside in there. Okay, that might give you a hint. If you live here, you've got to get permission from the county commissioners to live here, and they're going to ask you before they give you permission, are you going to spend the rest of your life there? And if you say yes, they're going to give you a free funeral when you die.
That's what I was wondering, if it had something to do with funeral.
It does. They're going to give you a free funeral when you die. Well, that means you're going to wind up out here in a pauper cemetery 6 feet down with no marker. Yeah, that's what that means. But they're going to give you a free funeral before you wind up out there in a hole. Now, there is a dead gurney on the first floor and a dead gurney on the second floor. You know what a dead gurney is? It's a bed with wheels on it.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody's going to have a pine box built sitting on that gurney when you die. And they're going to wheel it into your room. They're going to roll you off of your bed into that box. Your next step's going to be out here in the pauper cemetery. They're going to give you a free funeral, remember? Your next step's going to be right here. See where this Christmas tree's setting? There's going to be a wooden table sitting right there, not no Christmas tree. And they're going to pick you up out of that pine box, and they're going to set you and your pine box on that wooden table right there. Then they're going to get 4 to 6 volunteers that live here to sit on that oak bench right there for 24 hours and watch you in that box to make sure that you don't wake up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why funerals are called wakes.
Mm-hmm.
That before embalming.
That house I had over on Chestnut, it didn't have the witch's hat, but that was what that first room was used for.
So how'd you like to be the caretaker and this is your living room and there's a stiff laying here in your living room? Or that across the hall is your dining room and how'd you like to have a stiff in your dining room?
That's how they used to do it, though. I remember that.
Yeah, it's real.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now let's say you're one of the volunteers. You've been sitting there for about 8 hours. That old hard oak bench, you got your butt sore. I mean, real sore. Your back hurts. Your back feels like it's got golf balls going up and down your back. I got pee. I'm hungry. I'm cold. Hell, I never liked him anyhow. He's dead. And tell me that's not what you're going to think, because that's exactly that's common sense. You know, that's exactly like 90% of the people would think sitting there, you know. Yeah, he's dead. Why am I sitting here watching him? This is stupid. And that's exactly what you're going to think. Okay, the mortician comes in the next morning and asks you, all right, did he wake up? You're going to be the first ones. Nah, hell, he's dead. You still got to pee from many hours ago. He's still got to go bad. He's dead, buried. Out there in the pauper cemetery, you go 6 feet down into a wooden box, and you're actually in a diabetic coma, where your heart beats once or twice a minute. And you can come out of a diabetic coma and live a perfectly good, strong, long life. So how'd you like to wake up underground 6 feet down? I wouldn't either. That'd terrify me. I can't think of anything any more terrifying than that. I really can't.
Yeah, they used to use bells.
Saved by the Bell.
Yep.
Saved by the Bell, or the Dead Ringer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's the bell above ground that somebody can pull. So how would you like to be the guy sitting in the cemetery, let's say on a hot summer night, you're leaning back in a chair against a monument building or something like that. Let's say you're about halfway through a 12-pack, sitting there, and you go ding, 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 ding. Oh my God, what the hell was that? Where was that? Where was that? Okay, I found you. There you are. Now, backhoes ain't been invented yet. Oh, I got the spade. I'll get you out, but it's going to be a while. I'd probably just go get another 12-pack and go set back down, because you ain't going to get him out anyhow. You know you're not going to get him out in time anyhow. I know that's what I would do. I don't think I'd like that job at all. But now you know what a witch's hat tower is used for.
I know I'd heard about it before, but never had it explained to me.
Right.
Now that's what it is. Now, when was embalming invented? Invented in 1863. Okay. Before 1900, very few people used it because it cost too much. It was 1/4 of the total cost of a funeral to pay for the embalming. It still is.
Wow.
Because my wife died just about 3 years ago. She didn't have any life insurance. I was the one that smoked and drank and done drugs when I was a kid and everything else. I was going to die first. And she knew I had $100,000 worth of life insurance. She didn't get herself any. She was a health nut. Vitamins, always eating right, healthy and everything else. And she died of ovarian cancer and didn't have a dime's worth of insurance.
Wow.
It cost $13,000 for her funeral and another $7,000 for her headstone. Thank God I got a cousin down in Florida that offered to loan me the money. I paid him back since then, but that's a good thing because I didn't have enough money to bury her. I really didn't. Her and I've been married for 53 years too.
Wow.
Lost the best friend I ever had in my life. And I told her that too. She knew it. So
That's awesome.
all right, so now you know quite a bit about the history of this place.
What was the? I know that you said it was a work farm, but I know, wasn't it used for like when like the tuberculosis broke out too, or no?
Right, because they thought that they had quarantine rooms out here. They weren't quarantine rooms. But rather than take the chance of killing everybody in Winchester with TB, they would send the diseased out here. Keep in mind, most of these people out here are people my age now. And nobody gives a damn about an old person today. Nobody gave a damn about an old person back then. How many times have you been into a nursing home and seen the old boy sitting in bed, just sitting there waiting, and you go in and talk to him, and he'll tell you his son will be out later this afternoon. I'm waiting on him to be here. His son ain't coming. You know it's not. You know he's not coming, and that ain't changed. That's always been like that. It's kind of pathetic. It really is. I've got 2 kids, and if they don't take care of me when I tell them to, I'll cut them out of their will.
I'll tell you what, if these 2 put me in the nursing home, that one keeps talking about, I'm going to come back and haunt his ass.
There you go.
I like
I'll tell you what.
I like history. I like old places, and I'm not scared of hauntings because it used to scare me so bad when I was a kid. That's why I started this a long time ago.
I'll tell you what my mother did. Sure, she's long gone too, a long time ago. She put herself in a nursing home so she wouldn't be a bother to me or my sisters. Because she knew that me and my sisters both had our own families and everything, and we couldn't afford to take care of her. And so she put herself in a nursing home. And then got mad when we got on her butt about doing that.
Yeah,
So,
I've worked in nursing homes, and I've seen how people treat them. I've took care of my parents till they passed away. My dad did go in a nursing home for a short time because he threw a fit. He wanted to go, and I let him go, but I still brought him back before he died. But I
yep,
took care of two mothers, well, because I got adopted, so I took care of two moms too till they passed.
yep. I've seen the way they are. Well, I've told you basically the history of the place now. I did not talk about Doris and I did not talk about Ida, mainly because most of you already know about them. And as we're walking around, I'll show you the rooms where Doris hung herself, or Ida hung herself.
Yeah.
And I'll show
I knew about Ida, and I think that's the only thing he heard about was Ida. Was it Ida that you heard about?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
That's
She's the one you don't discuss that with her, and just
yeah,
yeah.
just a little bit I wanted to know. And one of the things that I picked up right off the bat was that's not the original broom. So that's not the original broom, is it?
broom.
The broom above the pipe.
It's not there no more. We took it down, mainly because
Maybe that's what I'm picking up.
we took the broom down because I went down there one time and somebody had taken a sheet and thrown the sheet
Oh, no.
over that broom. And I said, I'm taking that down because I'm going to walk down here someday. Somebody's going to be hanging from that sheet one of these days. Look, this is what Ida did. Step off.
Not only that, I think that's just disrespecting people that's passed on.
Well,
I know, like nobody else in the room said it, but welcome home.
thank you. Thank you.
I mean that.
Thank you very much.
We're a family of Army vets. Thank you for your service.
Well, I was regular Army for a couple of years, and then I joined the National Guard and stayed in for a total of 14.
My grandfather was in the ambulance corps in World War II. He's got a lot of good stories and stuff over in Germany and the Autobahn and all that. So
Yeah, and my cousin was in Vietnam. He died of Agent Orange. But they say it wasn't, but he said
Of course,
it
they
was.
said it wasn't.
He got leukemia and fought it for a long time, and
yeah. It took his mind away from him slowly. He just kept getting worse and worse and more aggressive, and eventually just.
I've seen a lot of people go just slowly wither away with Agent Orange. And they won't admit it was. Hell, it wasn't. It was weed poisoning. It was.
are we still recording?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, now, I've done just about all the verbal stuff I'm going to do. So,
Okay.
you want to do a quick walk through the whole building?
Yep. If you don't mind.
Or
We gonna need flashlights, or is there lights through it?
You're going to need flashlights.
You're going to need flashlight. It's like Waverly.
You got both of ours?
I got one. I think the other is in that bag that has to come in.
Okay, yeah, we'll unload it.
And
Yeah.
it's cold in that basement, and it's cold out in the halls. This is the only area it's warm.
I'm going to be switching into the
Go out there and get that
other
bag,
stuff a
guy.
little bit.
I got a Carhartt hanging right out there. I'm going to put that on.
This is about 30 pounds.